Hello and good evening or good morning or wherever you might be from Belgium. Today I'm going to talk about some things that I did with EZBI. I'm Tom. I'm implementing EZBI since 2016. I put a picture of myself over here so you can all see who I am. And next time that we finally have in-person events, you know who to take with you to the bars to enjoy some beers finally. Really looking forward to the next in-person events, but in the meantime, really enjoying the remote event as well. I'm Tom, as I said, and I'm working for iDalko as an Atlassian hero. iDalko is a company, we're an Atlassian Platinum partner. We do have offices, or as we call them these days, basically hubs in those 4 nice countries. Bonus points for everyone who's able to guess the countries. We do offer some consultancy, of course, and we do have some products. But I'm working as a consultant for the product, for the consulting part, and in that way, I was able to get some very interesting cases. Number one of the 2 cases that I will be covering is the one that's very important. It's portfolio management. It's getting more and more attention these days, and as it should. It's very important to offer the layer on top of project management as well. So for this case, we're diving to the internals of Ravago. It's a multinational headquartered in Belgium. One of the most important companies regarding to plastics. So you may not know the name, but you definitely know the products in some form or whatsoever. So for them, we're going to dive into the case in 3 parts. And the first part is the hierarchy. And why the hierarchy? That's a very important one. By default in Jira, we have an epic story subtask hierarchy, which might suit you whenever you're working in a more project setting. Especially if you're using a Scrum framework and you're just working through sprints. But whenever you want to roll up and you want to follow up some initiatives of some other parts, you might need some layers on top of that. And Java didn't only need 1 layer, but they needed to have 7 layers in total. So we can see a very nice amount of layers over here. And we needed to implement them in Jira. Of course, when we talk about hierarchy in Jira, these days we think about the most common solution, of course, that's advanced roadmaps. Back in the days, I'm talking about 2-3 years ago, they tried Portfolio for Jira, and unfortunately, it was not a fit for them. Many problems, very expensive add-on at the time as well, and didn't really provide them the value. But the great part of that, of course, is that they were able to define a hierarchy. But because they couldn't use a portfolio anymore, they didn't have any reporting capabilities. Now, when we're talking about reporting capabilities, of course, we're thinking about EZBI. First part that we needed in order to transform this whole hierarchy without having to use advanced roadmaps is, of course, bringing the Swiss Army knife of every single Jira instance to the picture. In this particular case, we're talking about a server instance. So of course, over there, we have a script runner with tremendous amount of functionality. And one of those things is the possibilities to create new custom fields. And the hidden part or the hidden gem over there is, of course, the issue picker. So this way we can create a new custom field that will be shown on these particular issues. And on that particular issue picker, when we create that one, we can define a JQL query. So based on this query, whenever we want to open up the picker, we can just pick one of those issues in the list. That's nice, but when I was introducing the layers, we know that we have 7 layers. And of course, we don't want to get a list of all possible 7 layers, all the issues in one list. We need some more structure over there. We need to make sure that we can only select the right parent issue, so to say. But luckily, Script Runner is really a Swiss Army knife. So they also provide a feature called behaviors, which allows us to inject some additional configuration. So in this part, you can see that we can add some specifics for a specific issue type. So when we just put everything in one single view, we can see that for all the issue types that we have, every issue type is a particular layer in our hierarchy. we can redefine the scope of the filter that you want to apply. Of course, the upper layer doesn't need to have any results, so we just define a non-working query. For the rest, we just point towards the issue types of the layer on top of it. For the level, everything underneath the epic, we just reuse the default Jira functionality, of course. So when we do all this, what is our result? Our result is that whenever we go to a particular issue type, or we go to an issue of type project, we can easily select one of those other issue types, one of these issues of type program. Same with PCR, we can only select a parent issue, an issue that has the type of the layer on top of that. That's already great. So we can start defining a hierarchy, but we need something more. Of course, in order to get a nice overview, it's great to see which is the parent. We can already see that thanks to the field, but also we want to see which all the children might be. And therefore, we just reuse the basic concept already there in Jira, namely issue links. So in this way, we can easily see the child, the parents, and if there are many children of one particular issue, we can see them very easily in one nice view. But of course, doing things manually, that's not okay. That's not what we like to do. And also that might introduce some problems, some errors. So therefore, we use another part of the script runner, and that's the part where we can introduce a listener. And so the listener will automize the whole house cleaning that we might need. So whenever the issue is created or updated, we automatically take the value from the parent field and make sure that the issue link is created. Whenever an issue link is being created or being deleted, we make sure that if it was manually created and it's not correct, that it's just discarded. And if a correct link was deleted, we just put it in place back again. And so this way, we're sure that we are able to create a hierarchy. And also we know that it's always correct and in sync. So that was that. Nice. And going to the second part, that's of course bringing this hierarchy into EZBI. And this is it's a very nice one. I didn't expect it to be there, but it's one of the hidden gems of EZBI. So whenever we we open up the hood of EZBI, we dive into the settings. We can see that we can provide some specific advanced settings. So showing those advanced settings more in detail, we see that we basically need to do two things. First, we need to define our specific top layers that we can do in this way. And this way, we basically define the individual parts of the hierarchy and indicate where the updates from the next layer should come from. You can also see at line 22 that it's even possible to add multiple issue types on the same hierarchy. And it really provides you additional value whenever you have a very interesting way of structuring the types of work. Second part, after we defined all those specific parts in our hierarchy, is of course creating the hierarchy itself. So you see that we have a specific set of information. I also put the link to the documentation in the EZBI documentation as well. We can see that we can provide a name. It's the Ravago portfolio in this way, and we can define our 7 layers. Just by using this configuration, we are able to create the whole hierarchy that we need. And as you can see, for the epic, the parent, and the subtask, we're just reusing the built-in functionality out there. So we did create our hierarchy. We're able to set it up in EZBI. Now it's finally time to dive into those new features and see how we can put them to use, of course. So time to build the reports. So next time we go to the to our cube and we perform our import, we can see that we have very cool new powers out there. So whenever we open the issue dimension and we look into the hierarchy, we see that a new hierarchy has showed up. We can see all the layers that we want all out there. So every single step in the portfolio is here, and we can start creating some reports. And this is really where it comes to shine. So you can see an example report, of course, a bit redacted. You can easily see in the first column in the issue type, you can see that the whole 7 layers are diving in over here. And we have the nice roll-up. Thanks to the power of EZBI and thanks to the power of MDX, we're able to roll up to report on specific layers and combine all those information, all those calculations to the level on top of there as well. It is a very powerful one because we can make use of, as you can see, the amount of money spent in a particular year. There are multiple initiatives who cross multiple years. By default in Jira, you don't have the possibility to report on things like that. But thanks to EZBI, you can. Also, we can put more of these reports together in nice dashboards, and we can easily find all the things that really matter, back down, nicely wrapped together. So all the small items that might cause some problems to big business initiatives, we can see them nicely connected together. We can pinpoint the most important ones. You can also see the issue assignee Koen Renders. He's not redacted because he's the person who was initially internally at Travago driving these reports as well. So it's a little shout out to Koen as well. So that was already very powerful, very cool, but it didn't stop there. So next part is very important, is the fact that we need to make sure that the data is only provided on as needed basis, especially when we connect all the information from the top totally to the bottom. You might want to hide some specifics, and that's possible in EZBI. So whenever you go to the accounts, you select the data access roles, you can press edit, you can define a new data access role. In this data access role, you can define the lowest layer in your hierarchy that this particular role is able to see. So now we just created a BOPO role. They can only see issues until the PCR level. So when we take a look at two users, one with that role and one the other one not, we can easily see in the screen that the user with the limited data access is not able to see all the issues that are underneath a specific level. So this really allows us to provide some access to people that they can see the big picture, but they're not able to micromanage it, or they don't have to see all the specifics as well. One small remark over there, it's of course tuples. So whenever you're trying to report on such a big hierarchy with some data access roles, don't even try to go this way. Just try to use tuples. It will save you lots of bug hunting, but also will improve the speed of your report as well. So that was in a hurry my first case. Now I do have some time to show you another one, and that's a little dive into a little shout out to the project managers. Project managers are species apart. They do have to juggle a lot to make sure that everything is still out there and everything is reported, etc. But they do encounter some pains as well. And now I just want to dedicate a slide to the pains of a project manager, and especially towards status reporting. And we all know that the status reports that are out there are limited. There are some status reports, some templates coming from Confluence out of the box. Some of the reports do come from Jira. But they didn't get that much love. Also, because they're so limited, every PM just creates their own set of best practices. They all love an application with a green icon and with lots of tables, and they tend to extract data from Jira, put it in their own Excel, and just create their own reports. Don't share those, but yeah, every single PM has its own set of Excel. Every single PM has an Excel that potentially has some problems with it, some formula problems, and also when new PM starts, it's very hard to get them up to speed. When we want to report on that, it's very important to have snapshots of the data as well, of course, because in this way we can always go back to a specific point in time and see what the status would be, could be. And of course, whenever we create all those reports, we want to share them externally. So let's take very briefly towards all the possibilities. You know, before the break, you all get them very much in detail. So EZBI has multiple ways to just consume and share the reports. We do have the possibility of sharing to dashboards. There are some dashboards in EZBI itself, and there is a nice envelope icon, and when we click on that, we can create subscriptions. So this way we can get a PDF with a nice snapshot of all the reports, but it's a PDF that's somewhere in the mailbox. Another way that might be very interesting, is of course the way of embedding a report. So when we click on the three dots and we choose embed report, we get the possibility of an iframe and that we can embed in a web page. So whenever you're using Confluence server or data center, you can just put this snippet into an HTML macro. If you're using Confluence on the cloud, you can use the iframe macro and extract all the information and put it out there. But one of the problems that we have with this approach is when we start sharing these updates. When we share an update, the iframe itself doesn't show up in all the files that we create. And also when we go back to a report to a page from 3 months ago, we don't see a snapshot of that time, but we see the iframe which shows us the data as it is today. So what does a PM have to do in order to make sure that everything is nicely up and complete? We just press the download button. We can download the report. We can create our snapshot manually and upload it to a page. Well, there's lots of work. So it is a case that I saw with many customers who were struggling and wanted to define their own set of reports. And therefore, I'm introducing right now an internal project that we did for some customers. It's the EZBI snapshotting toolkit. I didn't got anyone from marketing yet, so it's just the internal name that I give it. But I'm very happy to show you right now how this works. So it really, we can see an instance over here where the add-on is installed. When we create a new edit, when we edit a new template in Confluence, we can see that we have a new macro introduced over here, and the macro is called the EZBI report snapshot. We can just add this macro to our page, to our template. And when we go to EZBI, we just go to the embed report, we copy this snippet, and we paste this snippet back into our macro configuration. We just save it, and now we have our page, our template, and that's saved, and we have a nice set of potential interesting reports. Next step is, of course, consuming this information. How can we consume? Well, we just create a new overview page. In this case, it's a sprint report. We create the create from template macro. We put it over here. So when we click on that button, automatically a new page is being created based on the template that we just created. Now we can see the templates over here. Automatically, the date of today is filled in the title. And snapshot over here contains still the EZBI embed macro. So we have some remarks that we can provide. We can provide some information for the PMs or our fellow PMs to indicate. And that's that. So when we publish the page, we will see some placeholders. And when we wait a few seconds, we will see a new notification popping up that we have to reload our page. When we reload our page, suddenly all the placeholders have finished. We can see reports, precious reports. And that's very cool. When we click on edit, we can see that really the macro has disappeared and the macro is really replaced by actual reports, by actual images downloaded from our EZBI instance. And all these reports are being put over here in the page. So when we now want to share, that's very straightforward, of course. We can just use the built-in possibilities to export. We can also use more advanced functionality like the scroll PDF, scroll Word exporter. All the reports will nicely come in that particular generated document. And also, whenever you have a Confluence Cloud instance that has already the public sharing enabled, you can just share your page. And whenever you load the page, you will see the result. You could see a few slides back. This was not possible because the share functionality is limited to only 4 very straightforward macros from Atlassian itself. But right now, because we just replaced them by images, it's over there and we can just share a page to our customers so we don't have to work with the documents anymore. So that was one of the cases. My time is up. So only thing that left for me saying thank you for all your attention, for all your time. If you do have some questions, put them in the QA over here. There's a blog post coming soon with all the code snippets if you would want to apply them to your own instance. And otherwise, you can always find me in the community or on Twitter or on that email address. Thank you all.